Okay, now we're going to do the fraction and decimal questions. Question 3. Let's just try them. Well, this is such an important part of the curriculum, because if you can't add fractions, well, everything falls apart in algebra later on. So let's just look at some of these questions here. 2/3 plus 3/4. How do you do that? 2/3 plus 3/4. Well, you cannot add or subtract fractions without finding what's called a common denominator. You have to break the fraction down the same way. Now, one easy way of always getting a common denominator is just multiply 3 times 4. That's your common denominator, 12. Now, if I multiplied 3 by 4 to get 12, I've got to go 2 times 4, and that's why there's an 8 there. And if I multiplied 4 by 3 to get 12, I have to multiply the top by 3, and that's why there's a 9 there. Now we're talking about twelfths. We've broken down the fractions into the same type of fraction, twelfths. And 8 plus 9 is 17 over 12 is your answer. Now this fraction is mixed fractions, so you've got to change them to improper ones first. 1 times 5 plus 1, it's 6 over 5. 3 times 2 plus 1, it's 7 over 2. The common denominator is 10. But we've multiplied 6 by 2 here and 5 by 2, so it's 12. We've multiplied 2 by 5, so it's 7 times 5, it's 35. And 12 plus 35 is 47 over 10, and that's your answer. Now this one, you multiply straight across. You know, you could go 11 times 10 and 5 times 11 and get two bigger numbers and then reduce them. But when you're multiplying by 11 and dividing by 11, those two operations cancel each other. So they're just gone. You get 10 over 5, and 10 divided by 5 is 2. That's the easiest way to do that question. 3.1.4 is about understanding dividing. When you divide a fraction, you invert the fraction, and then you multiply straight across. But this question here, so you get 1 mark for getting the idea of tipping and timesing. But here, this is 11 over 22. 11 divided by 22. Well, you can just reduce that fraction. Divide the top and the bottom by 11. It's really just 1 over 2. That's a much easier number to work with rather than multiplying out and making big numbers. You could get the right answer the other way, but this is the easiest way. 1 times 3 is 3. 5 times 2 is 10. A negative times a positive gives me a negative answer, negative 3 over 10. Okay, percentages, 40%. Well, percent means divide by 100, 40%. Well, that's also what decimals mean. This is called the hundredth place. This is 40 100ths, which is the same as 40%. So the answer is 0.40, but we can write that simpler as 0.4, which is 4/10. Now 40 over 100, if you put that in your calculator and press equals, it'll reduce it automatically to 2 over 5. Because the biggest number goes into 40 and 100 is 20. 40 divided by 20 is 2. 100 divided by 20 is 5. That's why it's 2 over 5. Now 75% is really 75 over 100. 0.75 is 75 100ths, which means 75%. 25 goes into the top and bottom here. That's why as a reduced fraction, it's 3/4. Now 8 over 5 is really 1 3/5. Now 3/5, if you're going to change it into a decimal, I'd multiply 5 by 20 to make it 100. So it's 1.60, which you can really write as 1.6. And how do I say this? 160%. That's what it is. 160%. 1 is 100%. And there we go. We finished the fractions and the decimals.